thanks for coming. Calls to order our meeting for September 8th. I am Lee Gonzalez, the chair, and we'll go around and do the rest of the introductions. Is there anything else I'm supposed to do for this? So what we talked about doing for like a little icebreaker is just meeting with somebody that you have, or talking with somebody you haven't met yet, because I know there's a few. So we can just pair off, I think, with people, and then we'll talk about like our names and what they mean, where they came from, just as like a little get to know you. And we'll do it for like a few minutes, and then we'll just come back and go around and share. So does that sound good?
Sure.
Okay. It looks like, I mean, can we kind of pair off like this?
We can stand, everybody can stand up and we can find somebody that we don't know.
Perfect, let's do that. We could do that. Great.
Yeah, we can stay put.
Okay.
We've already
You guys get to start.
worked it out.
All right.
Maria, I'm Dean. Yep.
I'm Mandy. Nice to meet you.
Sorry, I heard one back yesterday. I really don't know.
It's okay. Oh, yeah. Angela, great for you.
Okay.
Where are your kids?
So, Shali Karshvili.
Now we're going to rely on young so that's good.
And then
Now it's
Junior. Name came through.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
That's pretty awesome. Your best friend?
So, it's just one of those. My uncle and our family was Oregon.
Are you original from Frederick?
I'm not. I'm actually originally from Virginia. But I've been up here
Like 90.
Okay. On that side of the building, or that side of the hall. What are the other two?
Maryland.
Yeah.
I mean, in the United States, I was involved in
My cousin's also.
Okay.
What do you want there? Yeah, so Italian princess. That's what TJ did. My great grandparents. Yeah, he went to school. Have an uncle.
It's a great area.
Jennifer.
I was going to ask, how old are your kids?
Yeah, 3 and 8, and one of them goes to school. She's in Middletown. Easy. Loves it.
Okay, remind me.
How about you?
Goes to Middletown, Illinois.
Yeah.
Graduated
Yeah.
here. Rome.
My first name, I swear, my
South Carolina, and my daughter lives in Charlotte.
is Firebrand.
What have you
Because that was a name for my mother.
Well, I ran for the Board of Education, so we're assigned committees.
One daughter and a daughter.
Children.
I can only handle
President.
and a daughter. That is my
Assigning the committee assignment.
So,
I kind of chose this.
Parker's middle name is Grace.
But I enjoy it because it's a great way for me to get feedback. That's the point. That's the point. This committee is to provide
Like therapy. Yeah, so shopping center.
So, we adopted it as Grace. And Parker was just
I had to run out there to
interesting name.
loves it because the teacher there.
To have particular gender for no particular reason, and we just thought it was so I'm like, oh, yeah.
And so there's like
The dog is Booker.
But we used to work hard to people. And, that's
And we need more engagement. That's exactly why I love this committee. We need more engagement.
what I thought. So let's do that
Broad,
here.
more broad opinion.
His middle name is
No. Native.
No, Katie.
Exactly. Yeah, so
Katie. She and I work together.
Okay, that's where my office is.
She and I work together. And we
Of course.
She was always like, when I was there.
Arthur and I from the hospital. Booker was like, what is this thing? And her car seat was sitting on the floor. He walked up to her and just went, whack, and like with his nose and just bonked her in the forehead. And then sat back to look and see what she did. And all she did was like, no other reaction. He was like,
Tell me about your work. You'll do some oversight.
no, I'm
Lucky James.
saving.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, my area is so I'm looking into domestic violence. My area is helpless.
I yell random things. Like 5 seconds, 3 minutes.
Well, thank you for your work.
Of course.
Appreciate that, and thank you for joining the committee.
Of course.
Yeah, it was a good time. I know, we just loved it. Okay, great. Was that fun? Yes. Great. Everybody was Brant, was that fun? Okay, so now we're gonna go around and just do introductions, and I'm gonna start with Sabrina.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Nail. I'm the ombuds with Frederick County Public Schools, so I help to navigate concerns and look to collaborate and work with the school system for collaborative problem solving. So thank you all for being here tonight.
Hi everyone, I'm Jamie Alavito. I'm the Chief of Schools and Accountability for Frederick County Public Schools, and I've been doing this particular work for about 7 years now, but I've been with FCPS almost 29. I love this community, and I love talking with Jennifer this evening, and I'm happy to be here.
I'm Dean Rose. I'm the Vice President of the Board of Education and the liaison to this committee. And as I was telling Maria, I chose, as the Vice President, I get to kind of be in the selection of committee assignments, and I chose to be on this committee, so I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Maria Carrasco, and I'm very excited to be here. This is the first time I join a citizenship-oriented committee in the United States. I'm originally from Ecuador, but have been in the US for many, many years. I used to work in areas where we're promoting democracy and governance abroad, and fully understand the critical nature of local engagement, local involvement, people putting their voices, in front and speaking up and sharing their views. So I hope this, it provides me a way to do that. And I live in Middletown, Maryland with my 2 little kids and my husband. So great to be here.
My name is Jennifer. I'm new to the committee. By day, I'm a project manager for a construction company. I have 2 children. My son is a sophomore at Oakdale High School, and my daughter is 8th grade at Oakdale Middle School.
Go Bears.
Yes.
My daughter graduated from Oakdale.
Oh, okay. See?
I'm Celeste McNeish, and I have a senior and a sophomore at Walkersville High School, and I also sit on the policy committee for FCPS. But don't tell the Frederick News Post that, because so far they have just forgotten about me on Twitter, which is great. So
Next call I get, I'm going to share your number.
call Celeste.
I want to get a comment from our community.
I know, right? I work with our PTSA, and I work with all of our different boosters organizations, and just kind of, help out where we can. So, love FCPS.
I'm Lindsay Gonzalez. Celeste and I have been on the committee for this is our 5th
We're the OGs.
year, I think. So I'm the chair for now. Elections today. I'm a federal government employee. My daughter goes to Newmarket Middle, and my son goes to TJ High, and he's in the Expressions program there. So, but we're in the Leonore feeder pattern. So,
I'm Mandy. I'm Cecilia, and by day, I'm a child and adolescent psychotherapist. I have 3 kids in the system. I worked for FCPS for a number of years before I left to join a private group practice as a teacher and then as a school counselor. And I've got one at Carroll Manor, which Charlotte and I found out it's in 4th grade at Carroll Manor, and I have 2 at Ballinger Middle School.
I'm Brant Shalikashvili, a very reluctant federal contractor by day, and a father of an amazing 8-year-old at Parkway Elementary the rest of my time.
I am Charlotte McGee. I have 3 children at Carroll Manor Elementary. I have been in the business world for the past 10 years, and I'm shifting into an educational space where I'm working on my master's at Hood College. So,
I'm Angela Lapazetta. I have 2 daughters. One goes to TJ High, she's a freshman this year, and the other one is a 5th grader in North Frederick Elementary School. I've grown up in Frederick. I've lived here since I was 3 years old. I went to Hood College. I went to Frederick High. By day, I work at Kite Pharma. We make multiple myeloma treatment for patients and CAR T-cell therapy.
Chris Brandt. I am a Chief Development Officer of a nonprofit in Howard County by day. I have 4 children. 1 graduated TJ last year, and I have 2 at Yellow Springs, a 2nd grader and a 3rd grader, and I have a 19-month-old too who will be in the system at some point.
Okay, great. Thank you guys so much. Okay, so for the agenda, we're going to do, we'll review and approve the minutes in a second, and then we'll do public comment, board member comment, senior leadership comments, policy committee will be Celeste, regulation committee is going to be Chris, I think, but have they had a meeting yet?
Yeah, we've had 2.
Okay, great. And then we'll discuss some of the policy feedback. We'll do the elections with questions and whatever, and then we can have some open comment and discussion. I wanted to see if we could change the date for the next meeting, if that would be at all possible. Just since it's right at, if we could talk about it during the open discussion, just since it's right at Veterans Day. Okay, so for the minutes from May 12th, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Second. Okay, we can approve those. Did I correctly? Okay, very great. Okay, there's nobody here for public comment.
I am, just for the record.
Okay.
Just so you should ask for a vote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So when you get the second, all those in favor?
All those in favor? Okay, great. All in favor?
Just for-
All in favor? Okay, great. Thank you. I'm still getting used to it. Okay. There's nobody here for public comment, board member comment.
Oh, well, I'm glad to be here. As I said, I've kind of assigned myself as the liaison to this committee, so I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have new faces here. We really want to engage this committee. I hope, if you haven't, I hope you, as part of your role here, I hope you'll engage in our board meetings. I hope you'll either attend or watch the board meetings so you can see what is being discussed. 2 committees that, if you have the time, you might take the time to glance at, because you'll get a report on policy, but it's always good if you have time to watch policy meetings and our curriculum and instruction meetings. Those are online, able to watch after the fact. Those cover a lot of areas that impact our community, our students, our teachers, our families. So that's kind of the role I see you folks playing here, is providing us feedback, both your own personal opinions, but getting opinions from your friends, neighbors, other family members, other families, to bring to us so that we're able to consider that in our deliberations when we're discussing. One of the things I'm going to go ahead, I won't go over everything because I don't want to steal your thunder, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that come up during your presentation. But one thing I do want to, I would love for the folks to talk to your fellow families, is we are looking at our what's called Policy 102. It's our meetings, and it's around public comment. I don't know if you've paid attention to our meetings recently, but public comment has been more interesting than normal. Even prior, and there's been some discussion about that we're making these changes solely based upon what's been happening recently. That's not the case. We had already planned to make some modifications, but this has more motivated our thinking about making some modifications to our public comment. So I welcome if you've watched, I welcome any input that you might have to make public comment more inclusive, more accepting, and we're doing our best within every. The First Amendment is extremely broad, so it allows some comments we'd rather not have heard within a school system. Children do attend our meetings, children watch our meetings, so we have some concerns around that. Unfortunately, it's very difficult for us to offer any restrictions on language, appearance, anything like that. But we are looking at some ways to bring some decorum back to public comment and a more focused approach with if they want to come here and speak to particular issues on the school system, particular policies, particularly issues from curriculum instruction, from policy. We encourage that. So, but we welcome, I'm really looking for comments from the public and input from the public about your thoughts that we can use in our deliberations, because we'll be discussing it in length on the 24th at our next policy committee meeting, and then we'll be discussing it probably ongoing at future board meetings. So I welcome your input and any questions that you have. Okay, so that's really it from me tonight. I just wanted to put that one out there so that, because by the time we come back in November, this issue will still be percolating. So I welcome any comments or any input that you have between now and then and when we meet again. Thank you.
Questions or comments?
I have a quick question. Is there like, if the meetings are recorded, is there one meeting that you suggest we just watch a little bit just to get a sense of what you're talking about in terms of decorum?
The last two public board meetings, you can get a feel for what's going on during public comment.
Possibly Wednesday.
This Wednesday, if you watch this Wednesday, we've the people who, like I said, the people who have been giving us some trouble are signed up to speak this Wednesday. So our expectation is, and they're well versed. They're well aware of their rights under the First Amendment, and they take full advantage of them. So it's sad, but they've similar. I guess they would like to call themselves activists. They've appeared at Frederick County, Virginia, Fairfax County, Virginia, Washington County, Maryland, Washington County Commissioners, Frederick County Council. So it's kind of their thing. They film them, they put them on social media, they receive compensation.
Is there a way
interesting world we live in.
Is there a way to limit who can do the speaking based on who lives here and who is inputting into the system?
That is one area that we are looking into, is can we limit commenters to either having children in the system, because it is possible you could live in Washington County, and have a child in Frederick County, but either having a child in Frederick County Public Schools or living in Frederick County, because then that encompasses all Frederick County taxpayers. Frederick County, Virginia, and Fairfax County, Virginia did institute that. So I don't see why we couldn't. So there is going to be discussion about limiting that to residents or parents of children in the system. Good question.
Anybody else?
And there has been it's come up. I personally haven't brought it up, but it's been brought up at board meetings. We're not required to have public comment by law. I feel it's important. I would not support the elimination of public comment. I think we need to deal with the problem, not totally wipe it out for those folks that come to legitimately advocate on behalf of their kids or their families. I think that's not the answer, but we don't have to. The law says we are not required to have public comment, but we do, and we welcome it. We're just trying to find ways to have it more focused and bring some level of decorum to it, so that, in particular, so our children can participate, because that's what this is all about. We actually reserve the first 5 slots of public comment each meeting for students, We don't always get, but we're really, I'm happy to see it getting more. And we actually, for the first time, last time, we had 6 students. We had a student we had to place into the public part of the comment. But for the first time, our student public comment was full. So we're encouraging students to come here, but it is kind of sad that parents have recognized what's going on, and you'll see once student comment ends, they'll get up and take their kids and leave. And I actually spoke to a parent recently that they used to always have, I told him, I said, I'm not going to comment on the kind of life you lead, that you're having our meeting on TV. But they used to sit, he said, we used to actually sit at dinner, have it on, and just be listening. And now we actually, when public comment comes on, we switch it off. So that's a sad comment that they're sitting there with their kids for dinner, and they make the conscious effort to switch off our meetings when we get to public comment. So we're just trying to find ways that people can still participate and they feel comfortable bringing their kids to our meetings. Great question.
Anything else? Okay, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have senior leadership comments.
All right. On a lighter note, in education, this is the most wonderful time of the year. You hear that from teachers, support staff, bus drivers, school leaders, central staff members, all the way around. We love the work that we do, and recently, in the first 5 days of school, the superintendent and all of the cabinet members were out on school visits. We had board members join us. Mr. Rose, I think, gets the prize for the for the most school visits, but I said that's what makes him a really good board member. Staying in tune with what's going on. But the purpose of those visits are really to just celebrate what's going well, hear about their theme for the year, but also identify what the challenges are, where there are problems with drop-off, with bus transportation, with lunch service, whatever is their need is. We keep track of that, and we do a debrief just to make sure that all of those problems are solved, and that we're on top of things. So it has been a smooth start. Everywhere you go, people have said this is one of the best starts they've had in over a decade. I know our staff love the 5-day return. We've gone back and forth in the calendar with 5 days prior to students coming back or 4 days prior to students coming back. And when it's cut back to 4, people really feel it. And it just gets in the way of them feeling prepared. And we want to be prepared for kids. So it's been a good start, and that's the update that I have for today.
Questions, comments? Thank you. Okay, policy committee update.
Okay, so we kind of started, we dove in a little bit already to 102. And I do want to have that conversation because then I'll talk to you about a couple of different debates or just concepts that we had discussed in that meeting. So that's probably where most of our time is going to be, but I'll tell you about some other stuff that we talked about as well. We did talk about Policy 426, which is about fundraising. And this is a great example of how public comment is really positive and can help guide some of the discussions and things that come out of it. We did have a citizen come and talk about charter schools and how finances are a little bit different in a charter school versus a traditional public school. We have the PTSAs, and charter schools are governed a little bit differently. They pay for things that we don't pay for in our traditional buildings, and so things are a little bit different. And so she felt that it wasn't really as representative of that process as it should be. So she had asked for some clarification with that. So we had that discussion, and I think our legal department's going to add a paragraph about charter schools and just to kind of have that group represented, which it should be. So I thought that was a great example of why it's great to come and speak. And I also love why we have it at the beginning of our meetings and not at the end. Some government agencies have it at the end of the meeting, which is nice, and then we all go home. And then, at least here, I feel like, and I've spoken in public here at meetings, and I think people feel like they can look at the agenda and say, hey, you're going to have this conversation. I want to put this bug in your ear so you can think about it. So I appreciated that. So anyway, that was the fundraising discussion. There wasn't a lot that we put in there that's earth-shatteringly different or controversial or anything. But it's important. We're reviewing all the 400s, so that was kind of in our plan. Another one that came up is Policy 400, which is the systemic delegation of duties. And this kind of clarifies the delegation of duties, and that was more with the board
It's with the
for
superintendent.
the superintendent's
Yep.
duties. And like when you're, if they're going to be absent, say they're going out of town, and so they have to delegate, okay, so now Mr. Rose is in charge of, you know, acting superintendent. So they were clarifying that in. Dr. Alavito could be named as acting.
That's not another.
Bad example. So anyway, to clarify with that, and so we're going to draft that up, and then that's going to go to the board for a first reading. So again, just to clarify some wording to make it more clear of when they're going to delegate and who they can delegate to and what that means, because it doesn't mean that they're not still the superintendent. It just means that someone else is acting on their behalf, but they're still responsible ultimately for what happens. So that's an important thing when you're delegating your responsibilities to someone else, to realize that the buck still stops with you, and I think people in those roles here know that, but it's important to put that out there. Another one that we talked about that did actually kind of become more of a discussion than I think I expected was 425, which is the flag display and salute policy. This policy is really outdated, so we discussed it just needs to be rewritten and brought up to date, but we did get we kind of dove into some weeds about what is a flag. We talked about flags and banners both being covered as the same concept here in this policy. Flags being traditionally the American flag and the Maryland flag. And I'm not sure that a lot of schools have the Frederick County or Frederick City flags. I know in high school ours, we had down to the city flag, but beyond that, we have banners that hang in our schools if you're a state championship, or things like that you can display up. And so we said, it's kind of the same idea, right? So we also talked a little bit about what's appropriate and what is not. So there was an issue where there was a Nazi flag that was in a classroom that people saw through a window. It was a football game night, and so that kind of became a thing. And well, why did they have that there? They weren't displaying it to celebrate the Nazi culture. It was a history classroom. But we talked about what's appropriate, when can you have those things. So that also got moved to a first reading. But that doesn't mean that it's gonna come back to policy again. I think the board will sit down, they'll look at what the first draft is gonna be, and they're gonna give input, and then I think it'll probably come back to the policy committee for some more editing and more discussion. Did I cover? Do you have anything to add to that? That's kind of it? Okay. And we can discuss anything you guys want to discuss, because all of these are gonna, like you said, come back, so I want to hear from you guys. I'm just going to put out there what we did. And then one other one before the 102 meetings one was Policy 101, which is the organization of the board. And this was a discussion over the authority of a board president to spend money or utilize a budget, and kind of act without communicating with a board. So if you have your board president, your board vice president, I'm the president of our Music Boosters, and I don't do anything without asking my board, because it's not my money. And so that discussion was, hey, we've got to be responsible stewards of our money. And, even though we have leadership positions, we're all on this board. So we had that conversation. And Mr. Blivis is going to write some drafts and bring it back to us in October. So that is kind of an ongoing thing. So we'll have another policy meeting before that October discussion. And to be honest with you, I wasn't as familiar with that scenario just because I'm not involved in any of that discussion, except for how the policies get written. So I don't have anything else to comment about that one. And then the last one was 102 meetings. And yeah, I felt like, I think it took me a while after I got on this committee to realize that we're kind of a chapter of a very ongoing story. And so if you pop in here, and we have really amazing conversations. I love this committee. I love when I go home, I'm excited because we've had really intelligent discussion about different perspectives and different communities within our whole county and what we think and what our constituents think. And it's amazing to me. But this is just part of it. And so like Mr. Rose said, you have the curriculum and instruction, you have the special education, and you have us, and you have calendar committee. There's so many different parts. And then you have the Board of Ed meetings. And so we're all part of that, but it's really once you tune in, and you don't have to watch every minute of every single meeting, but once you tune in, you're like, oh, okay, so it's an ongoing conversation. And I think at first I felt kind of disconnected because I'm like, well, what are we talking about? And why are we talking about this? And then if you're looking at, it is an ongoing story, as you know. So it is important to just kind of pop in and see what's going on. And if you don't have time to do that, read the minutes. I do like to listen to things in the car, so if I can get that pulled up, sometimes I'll do that. But anyway, I think it's really important to just kind of know where we are as an LEA and where we think we're heading, so that you know what people are talking about. So I think that would help, especially if you're new, to just feel more invested and part of this ongoing story that we're writing all year long. So education's kind of my jam. It's my career too, so I love it. So the last one was 102 meetings. I want to save that for last because I really would love to have a conversation here too. Some of the things that we talked about, and Mr. Rose covered it, like it's the decorum, it's the respect piece, and what to do about public comment. Public comment is so important. Like I said, I would argue against that 100% also, because I think that's really important, and these are our elected officials, and they're elected to represent us, but they're elected to represent all of us. So everyone does, we've all voted, and whether you voted for the person that won or didn't win, they're still representing our whole county, right? So some of the things that we discussed were, we have, our student code of conduct, and we have policies that relate to how we act in a building, in a school building. And that was going to be my question, and someone else actually brought that up before I got to do that. But my question was, why don't FCPS policies apply to this building? Because I know that I could not get away with doing anything in my high school where I volunteer that people do here. And so, they would call the police and I would get kicked out 1,000,000%. So I'm like, well, it's an FCPS building, so why can't we just go with that? Some other things that people talked about were public comment at the beginning or at the end. And you brought up a great point about, like, do you have to live there versus not living there? I know in the town of Walkersville, when you give public comment, you also give your address. And everyone knows everyone in Walkersville. It's very small, and everyone definitely knows my family for a number of reasons, but I still felt weird every single time. I'm like, this is just, I didn't really like that. But it proved that we were citizens of the town, and that, so that's what they did. There are a lot of LEAs that do that require you show your driver's license when you sign up or when you come in, and yeah, I'm in Frederick County or I'm not. So those are some rules that people have. Some other counties I read about, some of them, if you spoke at the September meeting, you cannot speak again until like November. And that's to give everyone a chance, because we only have 15 or 20 slots for people to give public comment. If you cross some of the decorum lines, sometimes you could get banned for longer. You could still come, but you were not allowed to speak. And it didn't matter what you were speaking about. It's just a matter of respect and decorum and kind of holding this room to a standard that, we have to protect our people that are involved. Like, I really feel like my kids are big, so I would let them watch it, and they've taken EP government, and they know how things work, so I think that's important, but they're big. I would never have let them see some of the stuff that's gone on when they were 8 or 10, or even 12, because I don't want them to think that that's okay. So we've got to figure out how to protect that, because I think the feeling that I got from our board members, I don't think they want to stop public comment, but they don't deserve to be attacked either. And how do we set that stage, So those are some of the bigger debates I think that we had, and not so much debates, just these are like, well, what do we do about this, So I would love to talk about that, or really any other policies that we talked about, because all of that is really important. But like we said, these are going to come back too, so I think an easier one to relate to is certainly the meetings discussion, and that would be good to have for our next policy committee meeting. So I just want to know what you guys, what we all think.
Another quick question, which is just how do policies go through review? Is it,
We have a review schedule.
Yeah.
We actually, since this was one of the commitments of the group of folks who were elected in 2022, of which I was one, was we made a commitment to get on a schedule where we had policies that hadn't been reviewed in a decade. Why that was, but a lot had fallen off because of COVID. It had fallen behind. So in 2022 and 2023, we made a commitment that we were going to get on schedule to doing policy reviews on a regular schedule. So we started with the 100 series, and we are going through each series, and we're actually up to the 400, almost finished with the 400s now. And that way, we're going to continuously review. Our commitment is that at minimum, every policy will be reviewed every 6 years, possibly more often. Some policies are required by law to be reviewed. The calendar policy, the graduation policy has to be reviewed every year. And then if a board member feels that there's something in a policy that should be reviewed, modified, or edited, they can bring that forward and have 2 other board members sign on, and we'll place that on an agenda. So if they see something, like in this case, we really as a full board decided organization of the board and meetings are out of order, 101 and 102, but we're bringing them back because board members brought forward that we needed to address those. But right now, technically, we're on the 400s, but 101 and 102 have been brought back at the request of board members.
For the point on decorum, I really like what you said about how there are rules in decorum in the system for the kids, but yet somehow we don't have those rules for this building. And I'm wondering if one thing under consideration is perhaps having some basic rules, for decorum. And this is something basic, right? I'm thinking meetings that I've attended where you have, I don't know, a workshop. Ground rules. Okay, this is how we're going to engage, like whatever talks in this room is not going to out of the room. I mean, I'm just but having something simple like that and putting it forward as something that is a matter of respect, and respect being a value that we really want to hold in these public school system.
Well, it sounds like that group of people doesn't care about respect. They're there to, shock and awe. So it's like
It's become performative.
right.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think starting with creating some sort of policy around decorum is this, but also having some sort of penalty, like you said about, you can't speak at the next one, and if you outburst again, then you can't speak at the other one. You just take away their whatever little bit of power that they've latched onto. And then moving forward, they'll probably move on to another school system once they realize that they can't continue to harass this one. So I think, you have to kind of fight back in a way, but then, once they're gone, then you can open it back up a little bit more.
It's public knowledge, so I'm free to share. We've been held under threat of lawsuit, under threat of a civil rights lawsuit. And sadly, that's something we have to take into consideration because that would be a cost to the system to defend a lawsuit like that. That makes our job really difficult. I think, I said this during my public comments a few weeks ago, is that when Madison wrote this, a lot of people don't know, it wasn't really a joint effort. Madison wrote the First and Second Amendments, and then they were approved by founders. But I said Madison would roll over in his grave, is rolling over in his grave, when he sees how the First Amendment in particular has been, used in a way that they never would have. It's one thing to challenge public officials, 100%. Public criticism, 100%. But the performative nature of it, I'll give you an example. This one particular individual thinks it's funny. He moons public officials. Because believe it or not, that did go to the Supreme Court and is protected by the First Amendment. So that's what happens. Has already happened here. It's happened at other meetings in multiple counties. There's no purpose behind that. Can't speak to the thinking behind the justices when they made that decision, but they are, if you follow the Supreme Court, they are very strong And I understand, that's what separates our country from many others, that your rights as a citizen to bring your grievances forward, truth to power. But it has become performative. And in our current environment, it's become such that it's become financially, that it gets posted. This particular person was actually banned from YouTube, but still has accounts on Snapchat and Instagram and various others in which they're compensated for the number of clicks and likes and such that they receive. I always find it interesting, just like I'm certainly not going to click the wrong button, but I've been on there and it's become, we're talking about people that have in the millions of followers. And so people that are commenting on there are not from here. So when they comment, wow, this is hilarious, they have no context of the environment it creates in our boardroom. So they're just they think it's funny. But to us who are experiencing it locally, our families in the audience, it's not funny. And so that's the issue. But we're not in a position, obviously, to defend a case that would go to the Supreme Court, because many of these situations, as far as the use of profanity, has already been decided. And so it makes it very difficult for us in that regard. You talked about it, one of our weapons, one of our ways is to restrict it to county residents and parents of students. And we're strongly looking at that because it has been instituted in Virginia, and that nixed, in this individual's case, it nixed it because he's not a resident or have a child there. So they actually had him escorted from the meeting and he's never been back. Here, like I said, a little background, he claims dual residency between Washington County and Frederick County. So there would be some issues there as well. But we're looking at ways, we want to hear from it. I don't know if you read the article in the paper. The paper made it sound like it used the word personal attacks. But if you watch our meeting, we clarified what we mean. I'm not a personal criticism, bring it. If you're criticizing my stance on particular policies or what I say in a meeting, that's your right, bring it. By what I mean by personal attacks are harassment and threats, which are not protected by the First Amendment. That's what I'm talking about when I say personal attacks. When people are naming me and saying, I'm going to come to your home, and that's happened. And so that's, that we need to have specifically outlined in our policy, that when it comes to that, we're going to stop you and we're going to have you removed. But not personal criticism. That's what we were elected for. We have to take it. But there are certain things that are not protected by the First Amendment, and threats and harassment are not. So we're going to outline that in the policy, and if they slip in that arena, that's fair enough. No one should be subjected to that.
I had a question about that. So I'm just thinking, if I threatened someone outside of here on the street, the police would be the one. Mm-hmm. Is there an option for law enforcement to be present? I'm not suggesting we lock them up immediately, but can't we have law enforcement to say
They are present. It's just that if it's protected, we can't stop them. They get their 3 minutes. Let's see, in the most politically correct way, this individual, let's say in a way, anybody ever watch Saturday Night Live and George Carlin's 7 words you can't say on television back then? They're bad. They've been recited at our board meetings. So if you think about all the words that can't be said on television, or the words that constitute an R rating at the movie theater, they have been repeated either verbally or written on a t-shirt or a hat that they wear at the meeting. So
I think this individual is a fascinating use case for kind of pressing how you build a policy. I think it is also important as we all approach how do you create a policy for decorum that most of the rest of the people in the county could probably be like, oh, I shouldn't use profanity at you. I should stick, like, guidelines around that make sense. You're gonna limit that one crackpot or handful of them. But by using that as a use case and addressing that person, you run the risk of creating a policy that has an unexpected or unintended consequence towards, you know, the average person whose political views you might not agree with, or the way that they speak about them you might not agree with. And it is, to me, it is about how do you define clean, acceptable language. I'm going to argue it isn't about protecting the kids in the room from having a difficult conversation. That is a parent's job. Like, if your kid's there, like, I would have my 8-year-old there and I would be explaining to her why that's not okay. That's my job. The job here is how do we have public comment about things that we might or might not agree with and speak in a manner that we can accept is attacking ideas, not people. And again, we don't have to be jerks just to get a difficult thing across.
I think it's bigger than just the Board of Ed meetings. I think there's probably a really pervasive lack of decorum and respect at a lot of county events that I've gone to, where language, behavior has been really unacceptable. Even at like a band and orchestra concert, I'll be honest, like I've gone and they're just rude. And the people who are up on stage have worked really, really hard. And it takes away from their experience and the experience of other people. So I think that if we're gonna look at how do we build that, we need to build it from the elementary school up in the way that we set expectations for those kinds of events. And I won't say that schools don't try, but I feel like we have to have a little bit more meat in some of the ways that we approach things like that. I was at a concert at Tuscarora last spring and it came up. And some of the parents were at fault, but then some of the other students who were waiting their turn, you know, they really took away from the other students who were on stage. And the teacher tried to address it after the fact, but she was on stage. She couldn't necessarily address it in the moment either. So I feel like respect and decorum is really lacking in our general society as a whole. And so if we're gonna expect that at Board of Ed meetings, which I very much think we need to start at the ground up and start really building, because these kids are modeling what they're seeing at home. And if that's allowed and acceptable at home, we need to say, okay, you can do that at that place, but that is not okay here. So that's part of it. I also think, I'm thinking back to our meeting that we had in May where we were looking at student safety. And I mean, I see your point, and like, it's my job as a parent to protect my kid from that. And I also feel like it is the job and responsibility of other adults around for us to set the expectation that they are going to be protected from inappropriate content.
Sure.
I don't expect to attend certain events and have to protect my kid from an R-rated situation. I wouldn't take them to an R-rated movie. I shouldn't expect that a community event's going to be like that. If I take them to a concert where there's, you know, mature audiences listed on the label, like that's on me, right? But I'm already warned about that ahead of time. I shouldn't have to expect that I'm going to have to, you know, earmuff my kid or have conversations that I feel like are developmentally inappropriate at the time. Or, you know, these kids think that stuff is funny. They see it on YouTube all the time. And so now they're going on and they're searching this guy and he's got a 1,000,001 views, you know? So I feel like we have to consider like the safety of the kids and the adults, but we talked about how we want our schools to be safe and affirming. And I know that some of the language that they're spouting is not safe and affirming. And that goes against what we talked about in the policies last time. So I think we have to kind of go back to some of our other policies and start with the ground up.
I have a question. The board meetings, do they have to, they can be audio recorded, right? Do they have to be video recorded as well?
That is one of our methods of retaining our minutes. We don't, so yes, we have to audio.
Okay, so.
Now some school districts have averted the camera. They don't even show public comment. The camera's pointing at us while public comment. So that's something we're discussing.
Basically, you
Yeah.
have to take away their ability to monetize it, and that's going and down.
Well,
and
they are allowed also, we can't stop them, they film themselves.
Oh, well, I would add that into a policy.
They don't,
Can't.
actually, our video is difficult to edit. So this particular individual brings a tripod.
So wait a minute.
I mean, it's a production.
An EP meeting, they cannot record.
We cannot stop them from recording a public meeting.
Because this is public and that's protected.
It's a public meeting, we can't stop them from recording. So they record themselves.
It's like being at a football game.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
I want to think that, this disruptive behavior, of course, it has many layers in terms of the consequences, right? One of them is, I can imagine how a board member feels if they get a threat. And of course, I can also imagine how it totally disrupts the conversation, where you cannot really focus because this person, right, did something totally outrageous that is totally out of place. So there's also that component of being able to focus on the topic at hand and take the matter seriously by everybody there, even if indirectly, right? Even if a piece of you is now gone with these images that you cannot unsee. So anyways, all that to say is that I'm wondering if there's some kind of argument there, more like on the legal front, where if your purpose is to achieve, discuss these issues and give the floor to people to do that, this behavior cannot be allowable because it derails your purpose. Is there something there from the legal point of
There is
view?
not. It is protected. They can actually come here and speak on any topic. Like we have people come to we've had people come to Board of Education meetings and talk about national issues. Do their 3 minutes. I don't know if they're videotaping it or they're asking their friends to watch. I don't know. They'll come and speak on a national issue that has nothing to do with the school system, and they'll do their 3-minute spiel. We've had people come and talk on the Israeli-Gaza conflict. It has nothing to do with us. I mean, so.
Some have come and led a prayer.
Yep, we've had that a couple of times where they'll come up and say a prayer. So what I've found is we're kind of the most accessible. We offer the longest public comment among any of the county council allows 15 minutes, so brief. We allow an hour. So and this is true across the country. This is an issue across the country. This is not just a Frederick County, Maryland issue. This is a countrywide issue. This is not just one. We happen to get subjected to one of the people that arguably is one of the worst, but it's a nationwide issue. And we're just, I don't, like we talked about, I don't want to eliminate it because of one person. That serves nothing. He's one person, he gets 3 minutes. Sometimes they bring other people and they get their 3 minutes. But the other, 49 minutes or 45, whatever, those people have their right as well. So I don't want to eliminate it. We're just looking for everything within the law. We don't want to subject ourselves to a lawsuit. It's sad that we're trying to nimbly, but I mean, a good example is we've seen this happen in other districts. We don't want the crowd to be into a frenzy. That the last meeting, we did have a member of this audience get up and approach the person. We don't want that. That's first and foremost, we don't want that. So that's another issue.
Are you allowed to move the order in which people speak?
We have to be, we have to be consistent with content. We can't move them because of what we think they will say.
Okay.
So we really can't. We can't. If they sign up to be first, they'll be first. Yeah. If they sign up to be last, they'll be last. It just, however it falls.
The idea of
So this week they're first.
Well, at least you get it over with.
So we get it over with. But they're, It's a difficult one. I agree with that. It kind of changes the mood in the room. I mean, it makes it hard to get what we want to get done. And I'm trying just not to make, like I said, he gets his 3 minutes just like everybody else. When that 3 minutes is over, kind of resign myself to some extent of that. But what I don't want a physical altercation. I don't want anything like that to occur because he has insulted members of our community. Yeah. To take that extremely personally.
To the point of the family that said that they used to watch me, and now when it gets to public comment, they turn it off. What you don't want is any public comment, whether it's that individual or any of it, to reduce the likelihood of productive public comment in the future.
Yep. That's what I want. Legitimate participation.
Yeah.
And so I don't. That's what I don't. I don't want those people run off.
But the problem that we also have is, and as you start to think about how to manage that extreme case, again, I'm trying to. It's threading the needle of how do you not make it so onerous for people who want to give productive comment to show up. So I respect it as a difficult problem. I'm grappling with it myself.
Yeah,
So
it's a
notes
tightrope.
are stuff
It's
to
a
dig into
tightrope to
later.
walk.
It's not black and white.
No.
I mean, the concept of respect and decorum and what's appropriate, those are all gray words. They are not black and white. And you can't put them in a box.
Yep.
But I agree. I think that these kinds of things have 100% taken people out of consideration for coming to these meetings. I mean,
Yeah.
And some districts have eliminated public comment.
And
They've just taken out, because what we do under Open Meetings Act, we do offer comment on action items on an agenda. So if there's anything we're taking action on, we're going to take a vote. We are required to ask for public comment. So they have an opportunity to stand up and comment on that item. So some districts have eliminated all public comment except on action items on the agenda. But again, that eliminates the public's opportunity to come and talk about something that might be on an agenda months from now, or something that's happened in their school that they want us to know about, or they want to advocate. We have people come and advocate for particular holidays on a calendar, or they advocate about redistricting, or they, there's things like that aren't necessarily on the agenda anytime soon. So,
Is there a reason it has to be everybody hears the public comment versus like people can upload a 3-minute video with their opinion for it to be heard by the board, and then they have the option for public comment, but it's not put on display? Like, does it have to be? Like, I get the value of other people hearing it, and if we're looking to kind of encourage people to continue to do so without having to be subjected to hearing all that other stuff, they can still submit their stupid 3-minute video, but it's not going to get, to be.
I've learned more about constitutional law than I'd ever wanted to know. You can, we audio it for our minutes.
Right.
And we video it so people at home can
Sure.
watch. You can do neither, and you keep minutes. Use AI, whatever, you keep your minutes. Again, we don't want to wipe it out because we want people from home to be able to watch. We are not allowed, if we have public comment, we can't have the first 3 commenters and then not show the 4th person.
So you'd have to show, if you had 1,000 videos submitted, you'd have to show all.
We had to show it.
But there's a certain, to that point, there's a certain amount of performative that they lose by having to record a video because
Sure.
they don't get your facial expression.
Correct.
So it loses some
They
of
don't
the
get the shock
value
about
of
the shock about it.
And everybody would have to click on the 1,000 videos that they've watch it.
Yeah. And we're also not allowed to beep out anything. That's a violation.
Okay.
That was filed against
They do in, like,
the county
sports
council did
and
that.
live
They
TV
beat
where there's like a delay.
He filed a complaint and he won. You can't beep out anything that is said.
Sports and live TV.
Yeah, that's live, that's television. We're not under those Open Meetings Act. Public meetings are not under FCC. It's, like I said, I've learned more than I wanted to know.
Wild.
And the how broad, and it is, it's what sets us apart, it's what makes us different, but people taking advantage of that difference just for a performative is disappointing. It's disappointing.
I just wanted to add, I really value the public comment in person out loud because we had a couple policy committee meetings that were also pretty busy. So usually they're like this. There's like 4 of us and then a whole bunch of staff that are taking notes, and they're all presenting, you know, their content areas when we're talking about policies related to them specifically. And that's it. And like we always have public comment on our agenda, and there is never anybody. And a couple times there's one person, and they were just doing an internship and they were observing. And I'm like, oh. So then, but we've had a couple meetings where we were packed and we had a full house, and we had this half of the room was for this issue and this half of the room was for this issue. And that was specifically 443, which was, you know, transgender, talking about the bathrooms and the sports, and all of that stuff was wrapped in that. We talked about that in the spring. And I sat and I took notes on all 20 speakers. And so in that specific case, we had 10 speaking for the policy and 10 speaking against. And so just to kind of make sure that all sides were represented and everyone had a chance to do that. So I wrote some key things from each speaker, each of the 20 speakers. And when I got down to the end of my paper, there were very common words that every single person spoke. So my feedback to that discussion was, you know what, everybody in this room wants the same thing. Here are the key words that everyone has said. And that's why, to me, it's very important to say, you know what, that is how you kind of bring people together. Not when they're doing things that are wildly inappropriate, that wouldn't be appropriate for a rated R movie, but it's important for everyone to hear some of those things on a more academic level, to say, you know what, yeah, you and I don't agree on this situation, but at the end of the day, we both want our kids to feel safe and valued at their school. So maybe we can go with that. Do you know what I mean? So I do feel strongly about that personally, just because that was a powerful experience for me too. Because I was like, well, we've never had a crowd before, so what am I supposed to do? I'll write stuff down so I don't look like bored, because you're not, I try not to respond, which is why everyone looks bored in those pictures in the paper, and now I understand. But it was amazing to me. I'm like, oh, you know what? Yeah, everybody in this room wearing different colors, have different signs that say different things. Everybody kind of wanted the same thing. They're just coming at it from a really different place. And so I think that's where we're kind of we're stuck on how can we keep going and allow everyone to come and present their perspectives, but, you know, how do we protect our board members and our public from things that they shouldn't be subjected to?
Well, and these are forums where people can come and get more connected with local governments.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe where a young person sees it and maybe wants to run for county something later down in the right. So if they're getting experience that is distorted, then that affects that, you know, hopefully, you know, future candidate for something. But I wonder, you know, maybe if this is something that is happening not just at the school, in the school meetings, but in other forums where there's actually disruption with the purpose of monetization, because this is not disruption with the purpose of showing a point of view, it's monetization. It sounds to me that this is more a policy level type of conversation where there needs to be some kind of policy law at the maybe even state level, where you cannot disrupt the public place where people are coming together to present their ideas to monetize on it. It's just killing public discourse.
All right, thank you guys. That was a great.
Thank you for.
I know we're going to talk about this more, so I know it'll come up more. I want to make sure we get to Chris's updates for the regulation.
Oh, yes. So first, I didn't say this at the beginning, but I'm the secretary of this lovely committee, so that's why I've been typing. I'm not distracted. I'm doing actual work. I'm typing minutes for the new folks. So I've been on the regulations committee for a brief time, and we already have had 2 meetings, and it's been quite eye-opening, and a lot of different stakeholders within the district, which has been very, very interesting. And so they've tackled some regulations, obviously pre me joining, but so I've kind of been listening and trying to take it all in and have a better report for our next meeting. But they've been talking about a couple different regulations. So one of them has been employee attendance, and it's been interesting to hear the different perspectives of the school-based administrators, obviously the cabinet and different stakeholders within the district, to make sure that their regulation is uniform and does not have any ambiguity, because we have so many different types of employees, and making sure that we are, and the district is taking into consideration all of the different facets that make the operations of this district work, which has been very interesting, and how you balance that. So I think they've made some good headway of understanding all of those different pieces and how one piece can directly affect another, and that goes to school closings. So either a 2-hour early dismissal or a 2-hour delay, how that impacts both part-time employees or operational staff or central office staff as opposed to school-based staff. So we've been going through that. They've been going through that to make sure that the regulation spells out exactly. It's kind of prescriptive of how your position and how you fit into that model, and exactly how you take what action you need to take and what action your supervisor needs to take. So making sure that all levels, from the employee all the way up to administration, they know what they're supposed to handle for that, which has been eye-opening, but also I think impressive to see how the district has been, I think, thoughtful in the approach that they're taking with the employees. This is an interesting one, and I know it from my previous life in a behavioral health setting. The student telehealth appointments is a new law from the state of Maryland. And so what it does is it mandates each school district for middle school students and high school students to allow them to take telehealth appointments during the school day. And the district is, and I'm sure many others are trying to figure out, well, how do we implement this so that it's not just abused by the students, and obviously it's also feasible for the district to accommodate. It has to be in a closed, safe environment, and so not every school has a dedicated extra space, as most of our buildings have no extra space. And it can't obviously be in a broom closet, right? So that wouldn't be acceptable. So there's been discussion of how you implement this and the time frame of how many appointments, the length of the appointment, how many appointments. That's been a conversation of how this is actually going to roll out to the actual schools, and making sure that we either have the space for it or accommodations need to be made. It's obviously more of a capital improvement conversation and an operations conversation than just a regulation. And it really does have some direct impact on the district, potential costs to the district. The other one has been research requests. So if the school district or a specific school has been asked by, say, Hood College to do a research project, just kind of the regulations of the agreement, any kind of quid pro quo, but just making sure if there's any exchange of gift cards or anything for doing the project, that we obviously understand, and there's regulations and guidance as to what is acceptable for us and the school specifically to take in recognition of that research. But really making sure that it's more nailed down, I think, than it has been in the past, of what is acceptable, so we're not directly paying a teacher to do, or student or whatever it is to do research for a third-party entity. I think the other one, we did talk about fundraising, and like Celeste had mentioned, and just making sure that that's spelled out, and there's a chain of command on the financial end of who is receiving the fundraising, who is, if it's directly at a school, who's making the decision. I know as a PTA past treasurer, we always had, where's the money going to go that we're raising, right? And what do you need for that building? So that's been an important one. And then the last one is student attendance. So making sure that, while not every school operates the same way, but there is district-wide guidance of what the different levels mean. So exemplary, perfect attendance. So it's recognized somewhat in the same manner. Dr., do you have any?
I think you did a great job. It is fascinating, isn't it?
It's interesting, yeah.
It really makes you think. No, I think that was a great job summarizing. The one thing on student attendance, when the board changed policy about the vacation days, we had to do a little thing to the regulation to make sure that it was clear. It wouldn't be considered truancy, but it would become an unlawful absence, that type of thing. So that'll be a big adjustment for us in Frederick County because we always have that in our policy.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
I was just going to share, I think it's great. I want to thank Dr. Alavito and the rest of the cabinet that came forward and have put forward having a member of this committee on our regulation committee. Thank them for that, and I think that's great that now we have a representative on the policy end and a representative on the regulation end, because just so you, the policy is the what the board expectations are, and then the regulation is the how it's applied by staff. So I think it's great to have two representatives at those important committee levels. So Chris and Celeste, thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay. We kind of already did policy feedback, I think.
Sorry, I didn't
Totally
realize
fine.
that was
I should have
on the.
that was my bad.
We
And, but
jumped
any
again
like,
twice.
no, it's okay.
I'm going to jump in for a minute. I'm not sure if our recording is still going to continue after this restart. So you may see me hopping up trying to,
Yeah. If you snooze it, will it stop? I think.
it won't let me snooze it.
Oh, it won't let you.
She snoozed too much.
I have done that myself. Do you want to update software?
Yeah, this is
Yeah, you keep
the,
going later. Yeah.
yeah,
Finally
this is
it
the
says no.
room's laptop, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
It has to.
Get those elections in.
Yeah, so.
We have 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Okay, so the open positions are the chair, vice chair, which we don't have a vice chair right now, and the secretary. So does anybody have questions before we do this? And I don't, do this after the questions.
If anybody would like to nominate
Okay.
someone else or themselves.
Yep. Just open the floor to nominations.
Okay, perfect. Questions, and then we'll open the floor. Okay.
All positions are 1-year terms. So that you know. If you love it, you can stay on.
Yes. And you can nominate yourself or someone else.
So let's start with the secretary. Do we have nominations?
I'm happy to continue.
I was like, do you want to be nominated?
I don't mind. Unless anybody wants to wrestle me for it.
My experience, that position is the most difficult to fill, so.
I'm happy to. I've finally gotten a cadence, so I'm happy to stay on.
Okay, great. I'd like to nominate Chris.
Absolutely second.
Second and nominate. Third, yep.
Now you just.
Now we vote?
Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor? Any nays?
Yay.
Yeah. Okay, and then now the vice chair. Questions? And then we'll open the floor for nominations.
Can somebody say what it entails, the vice chair? Is that okay?
So I have our bylaws that states the vice chair assumes the duties of the chair in his or her absence, performs other duties as assigned by the chair. If the chairperson resigns or is unable to perform his or her duties, the vice chair will assume the duties until another chairperson is elected. So basically, you're working in partnership with the chairperson and collaborating together to create agendas and to help organize the meeting.
Vice chair.
I think as part of this conversation too, the chair is also open, so.
News one.
Just going in order.
Yeah. No, I know, but if somebody wanted to do that, then, just since it's in.
And vice chair is actually a great way to then get the experience and move to chair if you enjoy the experience.
Maria, anybody else? Motion to approve. Second. Okay, and then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No, congratulations. Thank you.
Like, this is very anticlimactic. Like,
We don't. Yeah, this is
We don't
great.
woo-hoo here?
No, it's fine. Our elections were good.
I mean, may get more dramatic if we want to. Okay, and then for chair, questions? Volunteers?
I think that was going to be my question.
I feel the same as Chris. Like, I'm happy to do it, but I also would love to turn it over to somebody else that's like wanting to get the experience and.
And the previous chairperson serves as a mentor. I'm throwing you in.
Can you just make
Yeah. Don't be shy.
Anybody interested? Okay.
By default.
I have a nomination.
Oh, you do?
Yes,
So
I would
happy.
like to nominate Lindsay
Thank you so much.
to be chair of our committee.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right. Nay votes? Okay. Any nays? Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys.
That sounded sincere.
Well, thank you all for stepping up to serve. Thank you.
And then we'll touch base with you, Maria. I'll touch base with you before our next meeting. Okay. I did, before we adjourn, I wanted to, any like questions, comments, just about the process in general, or about the meeting today, especially, anybody?
And what time do we normally? 7:30? Is that our goal?
We usually do 7. I mean, I think we kind of just do, until we.
We have the room for 2 hours, so it's
Okay. Okay. I didn't want to extend it. I just did because we're at that point. If there was anyone that hasn't offered any thoughts or comments on any of the policies that are, because we are going to have a policy committee meeting in 2 weeks from Wednesday. And then we'll have another policy committee meeting prior to, we want to talk about the next meeting as well.
Yes, the date. Just to check that.
We're going to have so there'll be 2 policy committee meetings before this committee meets again. So if you have any thoughts, I will share that at the next policy committee meeting, the 3 policies that will be directly discussed are 443, which is our welcoming for transgender students, and 444, which is our equity policy, and then 102, which is our meetings policy. So those 3 policies will be on the agenda for discussion at the next policy committee.
Tune in.
It should be quite.
Stop by.
Well, it's very rare, but we'll probably have a full house for that policy committee meeting. 9:30 in the morning, we'll probably have a full house in here for that one.
And if you want to send in any comments, you can send them directly to the policy committee, or you can send them to CAC, Citizens Advisory Council, @fcps.org, and I'll forward them on to Celeste, the policy committee. So if you have any written comments, or you can give a public comment, and by public comment, you can send that into policy committee also, if you personally want to say something.
And you can always, and this is what I encourage to people too, you can always submit comments to the board at board@fcps.org, and that goes to the entire board.
Oh, I bet that's colorful.
Can be.
But it's quiet. It's just in the privacy of your own laptop, right?
Next thing he's gonna send a picture of it and send it to the.
I always tell people that when I first got elected, I thought, and I think for some reason the way it fell, our first meeting was on Monday or Friday, just to get to know you kind of thing. And I didn't really think, so I didn't check my email for the weekend. So Monday I log on and I had 113 emails. And this week I've been on vacation, and one day I had 58, and another day I had 38, and today I was laughing I hadn't logged on because I've been on the road all day. I only had 28 today. So That's one of the larger parts of the job, is just email. It's pretty intense.
If anyone wants to attend the policy committee meeting, it is back in this room at 9:30 on the 24th.
Is there a virtual option at all?
Those are not shown live.
Those are not, okay.
But the video is normally available within the next 2 days.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
Yeah, so you can review it within
Yeah.
the minutes take a little longer.
And now
The
we're
video
putting
is
everything to YouTube,
Okay.
so it's on YouTube.
One thing I wanted to add real quick, because I know we've got a lot of new people here too, and it is really important what we all think, because we all are constituents here in FCPS, and that's why we're on this committee, and we represent different communities within our county. But it's really important for us to go out into our communities and get feedback too. So I would say, try to invite yourself to some meetings, like go to some boosters meetings, go to PTA meetings. Like I try to go to the PTAs in my feeder pattern, and I know that generally attracts the same kind of people that want to volunteer, want to serve their school, and all of that stuff. But you know what? We're all very different anyway, so it really has been beneficial to me. And then they also then will see you as someone that they can pass information, opinions, feedback onto, knowing that you now have this tie into FCPS. So it's important to just kind of get out there. Like we all have newsletters, or some more comes out every week in all of our schools in Walkersville at least. So, you can just, hey, this is what I'm doing. It's a new thing. I'm pretty excited. And, any feedback, I can tell you it's pretty safe. I haven't gotten any big drama. But, people appreciate knowing that there is somebody doing that. A lot of people still don't really know what we do. So it's kind of important to just reach out to your admins within your feeder pattern and to your different advocacy groups that are on your campuses. It's important to do that. So just a way to kind of put yourself out there a little bit.
And I really appreciate, one thing I want to emphasize about this, as a non-voting liaison, but to this committee, that this is a safe space to have respectful discussions about all the topics that come before the board, because that's why it's important to have you all here, that we maintain a level of decorum, but everybody's opinions are valued here, and it's important to hear them. Example being, I'm not, like I said, I have to address these things, so I'm not afraid. Is everyone aware of the 3 key debates around policy 443?
No, I think, because we talked about that in the spring, so
Okay.
I think
Just so you know, and if you hear it in the public and you're talking to the 3 most debatable issues within policy 443 are bathroom use, athletics, and parental notification. So those are the 3 biggest issues contained within, that you would hear most in the public in regards to that policy. And as of now, the first 2 are protected by law within our circuit court. There are circuit court decisions that have protected bathroom use based on gender. Athletics as well, the K through 12. And then parental notification is been viewed as a privacy issue that extends even to children. So but those are the items that are up for debate within our policy. 2 of those 3 items will be going before the Supreme Court in the next 2 sessions. So could all be for naught, but we'll see. That will be decided within the next 4 to 6 months. The policy will be reviewed, edited, taken before the board for a vote, and we'll be at least finished with it for now until there are any changes in the law, or when it comes back up for its regular review. But in the meantime, I wanted you to be aware of the 3 primary things that are most on people's minds, and feel free to share what you hear or your own personal thoughts.
Quick question, Hooper. Privacy rights are extended to children. Where does that come from?
That just comes from general privacy that's been debated within circuit court legislation, through legislation and circuit court law.
Okay.
There was actually a court case in California in which a student was quote-unquote outed by the school system. The court ruled against the school system for several $1 million. So it's typically case law.
Therapy dictates kids at 12 and up.
Yeah.
That's why I was curious,
Yep.
you know, where that came
Yeah.
from.
Yep. And we get into that too, you know, about them being able to, you know, get permission for therapy. But in
But the
this,
privacy, that's what I'm saying,
regard,
privacy rights and therapy, and
privacy,
therapy
we
relationship.
have people on both sides there, and I have empathy on both sides as a former parent of small children. My kids are grown, but I understand everyone's perspective on that. But
I'm just trying to give everybody like a leg to stand on, right? Like if we, you know, if Maryland law already says this, then this is
Yeah.
why we're doing X, Y.
Yeah, this is federal case law that's currently standing, but it's going to be appealed, and we'll see where it goes. The other case is Grimm v. Gloucester School System, which is a Virginia suit in which Gavin Grimm was a transgender individual who sued his school system for bathroom use and won. That was decided at the Fourth Circuit. It was appealed to the Supreme Court, and at that time, the Supreme Court declined to hear the case, which meant solidified the Fourth Circuit's decision. Now, there are other cases coming up, and one has been brought to the Supreme Court. So it will either be heard in this fall session or in the spring session, we're not sure. What's interesting is the athletic participation case is that of West Virginia. It's Becky Pepper Johnson case against West Virginia. She won at the circuit court level to be allowed to participate. It has been appealed. I believe it's going to be heard this fall at the Supreme Court level. But that's what two of those are within our circuit. So we're following case law within the circuit. There obviously have been executive orders and things like that have come down, but executive orders actually don't trump circuit court law. So a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at some point, if you
Or state law, so.
I like how Mr. Blivis presents a lot of these things. So definitely, when you mentioned executive orders, and so a lot of those were flying out all over January, February. I mean, still today, but and so we came back in to a policy committee meeting, and somebody had asked him, well, what are we gonna do? Like, I mean, not like dramatic, but what are we gonna do? Because literally everything that we're talking about is getting canceled or getting changed, and it's like right now. And he's like, well, guys, we have an agenda and we're gonna follow it. We've got this roadmap for the whole year of 2025, and now we're looking at the 2026 roadmap because it's September already. And he's like, we're gonna keep going. He's like, when something happens at the federal level, then it has to go to state, and then it's gonna come down. It's not here. He's like, so this is what's here, and this is what we're doing. And he's kind of my barometer. Like, he just kind of brings us all back to like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and this is fine, and we have these lines we're gonna stay within, and we're gonna work on what we have here for us today. And I love that about him. I think he's brilliant, but he's also really grounded and helps keep us focused. Which
We're lucky to have a great staff. We have a
Yes.
great legal department. And like I said, I've learned more about this than I ever wanted to know.
So much.
But even when we follow case law, we can be subjected to federal, in which they can pull our funding. So even when we're following the law, they can find us in violation of, say, Title IX, and then they'll threaten to pull our funding. And that's happening in Northern Virginia right now. They're threatening to pull their funding. So, while it's not a huge amount of money, it's every dollar counts right now in the current environment. So
Sure does.
we don't want to lose our federal funding, because what's interesting, the federal funding we receive impacts the kids who need it most. That's our Title I funding. So you're punishing the kids who need the funding the most. So that's what we have to balance some, and it's what I find, it's really a difficult decision to feel like you're trampling on the rights of people just in order to make sure you still get the money. It's really some tough discussions that we have in that regard. You feel like you're letting some people down. But it might be over $12 million. So it's tough. But thank you all for, and don't, like I said, I want to make sure you recognize that this is a safe space to have these kind of discussions. And I value, and the board values your input and what you hear in the community. That's why we value this community.
I love that everyone is solution oriented and we're coming up with, I wonder what if we tried that? That's what we really need here. It'll help us come up with a better product.
Absolutely. Yeah, this was a fabulous meeting.
Lindsay, you wanted to talk about the menu?
Yeah, about
I
the,
didn't know if it would be possible to just back it up like a week, just because of Veterans Day on Tuesday.
Third.
So,
That would help me as well, because the Ballinger Creek is having their concert that
Oh.
night. Sorry, guys, but I would choose my daughter's concert.
that's okay.
is that okay with everybody?
What would you like to move it to?
November 3rd,
3rd?
from the November 10th date.
Oh, you're waiting to be updated. Can you see if there's?
I'm not so powerful as to have board members.
Oh, I forgot.
Actually, Kim Remus, my assistant,
Has board
has everything.
We actually have a Veterans Day concert.
So what we'll do is we'll confirm that the boardroom is
Okay.
available.
Okay,
But
awesome.
if it's agreeable to the folks here, we'll pencil in
Okay,
the 3rd, November 3rd is the next
yeah,
meeting.
thank you.
Wait, I'm there, hold on.
My husband is retired from the Army, and this is a big holiday. He finally gets to celebrate Veterans Day. He was active duty. He'd be like, it's Veterans Day, and I was like, that's not you, so. That's exciting. He does. He always do stuff, especially, I'm sure probably Monday they'll do it since the first Tuesday. Yeah.
My husband's actually going to guest the keynote at our Veterans Day ceremony.
Oh, cool.
It looks like it's available. I will double check. Are we all good to, anyone have
Okay
okay
with everybody? Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
I was gonna go anyway, sorry guys.
Concerts win.
Thank you so much.
Meeting is adjourned.